everyone, welcome back to a new post today, and today let's discuss about an important topic that's making headlines. Just before the beginning of the 16th Finance Commission, something that is called as the South Tax Movement by Kerala, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, where they have spoken about the unfair treatment by the centre in devolution of taxes to the southern states of India in comparison with the northern states. So the first question that you need to understand is, do the states earn their own money or are they dependent on the centre? Now for this you need to understand the centre-state relations, and let me tell you that there is division of powers between centre and the state, legislative, financial and executive, but the centre has more powers with regard to financial powers, and therefore the constitution provides something called as fiscal federalism, where the centre needs to share a part of the taxes with the state. But however, the government of the day does not decide upon the percentage of tax devolution or the share that the states need to get. It is a body called as the Finance Commission which decides about this, and it is constituted every 5 years by the President of India. Now this Finance Commission is an independent body and determines the share of the taxes that have to be shared between the centre and the states and devolved to the individual states, and also the percentage of the taxes that each state has to get from the centre. Now this is done on the basis of a criteria, which many criteria, for example forest cover, population, the income gap between the centre and the states or between states, etc. There is a definite set of criteria which is followed by the Finance Commission, and on the basis of this every 5 years the tax are devolved to the state. But apart from the taxes that are collected now, which are shared with the state, you have to remember that the centre collects something called as surcharges and cesses. Now these are not shared with the state, they go completely into the centre's kitty, and recently, as of recently, after the GST, the cesses and the surcharges that are being imposed by the centre have increased, which means they are not being shared to the state, which indirectly actually the centre's dependence on the taxes is reducing, and it is increasing its earnings through cesses and surcharges. The share of divisible taxes comes from the taxes and not the cesses and the surcharges. Apart from this, there is a GST. So the states have lost the indirect taxation rights, and now they have come up with the GST taxation. So the GST tax was introduced in 2017, and for 5 years they get something called as the GST compensation for the loss of revenue, because they have merged certain taxes of the state, indirect taxes, with the centre. But however, that GST compensation was applicable to the states only for 5 years. Now after 5 years the GST compensation is not applicable to the states, which means the states have to now try to earn their own revenue in spite of having not been very comfortably earning through the GST as well. All these issues like the GST imposition, the increase in the cesses and the surcharges, the manner in which the tax devolution criteria has been brought up by the 15th Finance Commission, and now the percentage of taxes that are going to be devolved by the 16th Finance Commission are all the reasons why the southern states have started something called as a South Tax Movement. So, and they are saying that there is a bias. Now another important issue that you need to remember is, does the centre have any say in determining the percentage that goes to each state? Now as they say, as I told you, that there is the Finance Commission of India, which is an independent body which determines the percentage and also the criteria that has to be used to devolve the percentage of the taxes to the centre does not have any say in the criteria. But let me tell you, the Finance Commission has not been immune from the centre's control. Previously, there was a planning commission. There was partly certain control over, and politics always plays its role with regard to certain decisions, especially with tax devolution. This has happened previously. We cannot say that this has not happened previously. So there is a very prominent feature in the country that the states which have the same political party at the centre are favoured a bit more than the states which do not have the political party. So indirectly, yes, there is a certain way of influence, but then definitely on paper paper, no, the Finance Commission is an independent body, but the politics does have its say at the end of the day. So let's have a quick review of what exactly is the issue and what the states are saying. It's just the gist that I just gave you in the introduction. Now let me tell you, let me begin with that. India follows a federal system of governance in which the centers and the states have equal powers with regard to your legislative and administration, but when it comes to fiscal power, financial powers, India also shares the power with the state, but the center is a little more powerful, has more powers with regard to the finances of the country. Now the center-state financial relations are largely decided by the Indian Constitution, and therefore the Constitution provides for devolution and distribution of the taxes between the center and the state, and this is called as fiscal devolution. So apart from the taxes which the state earns on its own through the state subjects, there is a pool of the center's divisible taxes that comes to the state. Now the lower share of devolution in the kitty of the less populous, that means the population, the southern states who have done better with regard to population. The reason why I am speaking about population is because population is one of the criteria for determining the devolution of the taxes, and this has been seen with regard to the 15 Finance Commission criteria. So there has been a lower share of devolution of taxes to the southern states. These have been the states who have performed very well with regard to population control, and this is one of the reasons why there is seen as a north-south divide. Now the northern states are not only poor states, but they have not done so well with regard to population control. They are populous states. So apart from being populous states, they are also backward development, and therefore a larger kitty of the share of the taxes goes to them, in spite of them not contributing much to the state's kitty. But the southern states contribute more than the northern states to the central taxes. So this is also one of the difference. Unfair treatment of tax devolution has been called by the southern states of India, and they have labelled this as the South Tax Movement. Now, however, a finance minister said the devolution of the taxes to the states happens as per the Finance Commission recommendation, and the union government has no discretion at all with regard to the tax devolution to the states. At the heart of the dispute now lies two major issues. Number one is the devolution given to the states has been lower since the 14th Finance Commission itself, and in 15th Finance Commission it has reduced even more. Second, the share of the devolution of taxes to the less populous and the fiscally stronger states of southern India tends to be more lower, and this has been seen from the past 10 years. While the northern states who do not contribute much to the taxes and are more populous, along with being backward, they are getting a larger share of the taxes. So it's nothing but it's the better performing states are given less taxes. So it's been seen as unbiased and also injustice. At present, as per the recommendations of the Finance Commission, 41% of the divisible pool of taxes are transferred to the states in 14 installments covering a 5-year period. That is from 2021 to 2025 and 26. Now, in the year 2025, the union government budgeted 35.5. That means a 5.5% reduction in the divisible pool of the central taxes. So, according to the 15th Finance Commission, the states got 41%, which are divided among all the states, but now according to the 16th Finance Commission, they will only get 35.5% of the divisible pool of taxes, and the net except the surcharges and the cess. So with the states, this is much lower than 41%. Now Reserve Bank of India has come up with a report, and it has also said something about this. In the latest edition of the State Finances, the study of the budgets in 2023 and 24 released on December 11, 2023, it said due to the increase in the cesses and surcharges, the divisible pool of taxes have shrunk from 88.6% to 78.9% in 2021 and 22 compared to 11 and 12. Despite the 10 percentage point increase in tax devolution recommended by the 15th panel, the central bank therefore suggested that the actual tax devolution hinges upon the cesses and the surcharges levied by the centre, and therefore which is not actually shared, and the states need to augment their own fiscal capacity and reduce dependence upon the transfers. Now over the years, the shares of the central taxes that are shared with the states as a part of the divisible pool have hovered around 35 to 36% in the last 4 years. One of the reasons is that the cess and surcharges are moreover more than 10% of the gross tax revenue, so reducing the overall pie of the shareable taxes. And out of this overall pie, the lesser taxes are going to the southern states, and that is why they are now disputing about the even more reduction of the divisible pool of taxes, which will come up in the 16th Finance Commission, which just needs to devise a criteria to distribute these taxes between the state. So what exactly is a concern of the north versus south? Now, the concerns were raised by the southern states even before 2020. This is not a very recent issue. This has been happening since 2020 itself, when the 15th Finance Commission submitted the report using one criteria called as the population, and also changing the year of the census. So it changed the census year from 1971 to 2012, so to decide the devolution of the taxes from the central pool to the states, with a separate factor to reward some of the controlling states which have performed well in controlling of population. This was a shift from the previous commission, which used actually the census of 1971 in comparison to 2011, which was used in the 15th census. Now this was done due to the rewards that the states got for controlling of population. And according to the major point here is that according to the 2011 census, the criteria for deciding the pattern of devolution was that the existing population level. This means higher the population, more the, according to the latest census, more the devolution of taxes, lower the population, less the devolution of taxes. And because the southern states performed very well in 2011, they reduced the population, therefore they got less divisible pool of taxes in spite of contributing a good percentage to the centre's pool of divisible taxes. This is where the north-south divide actually makes its entry. Northern states like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, who have populations that have expanded rapidly since 1971, got a larger share of the funds, and this is because of the shift of the 15th Finance Commission looking at the 2011 census and not the 1971. What made matters even more complicated is that the 15th Finance Commission, in its report, most of the low per capita income states are most populous, and therefore they got a larger pie of the shareable taxes from the center. Therefore, many of the southern states that perform better on this metric could get only lower share compared to the states with a low per capita income, and this is the result of the income. So apart from the population criteria, the reason why the northern states got a higher tax share is because of a criteria called as the income distance criteria, another metric used by the Finance Commission to decide on the pattern of devolution of taxes. So it's a double issue here. Not only the population census taken to see the population growth, but also the income distance criteria, which made the northern states not only high in population, but also they are low on per capita income, and that is the reason they got a higher kitty or the share of the taxes. What adds to the misery of the states is another issue, that is the GST. Now, some states have alleged that the control they have on their own revenues has been reducing. That's because of the rollout of GST, further lowering their ability to tinker with the tax rates and also increase with revenue, so they cannot do that with GST. And therefore, and also the lack of the compensation, GST loss of revenue compensation, which the government of India said that will end for the 5 years, that is 2022, and the states will have to look at their own solutions for garnering revenue and not depend upon the center. Many states have I've called out that because of the COVID-19 pandemic period for 2 years, they have lost out, and the center also balances this argument, saying that because of the COVID, it could not earn a lot of cess and surcharge, for which they make a compensation fund. So the compensation fund, GST compensation fund, is created by the center to provide compensation to the states for bringing about a GST tax, and the compensation fund is funded by the cesses and the surcharges that is imposed by the center. And the center balances the argument, saying that during the COVID-19 period for 2 years, they also could not earn proper cesses and surcharges, and therefore they will not be able to continue this compensation fund for another 5 years. There is a big demand saying that they need to extend the compensation fund regime for another 5 years, so that the states can be able to now come to terms totally with GST. They get better revenues, and also they are compensated for the loss of revenue, and they can make out for even the COVID-19 lost pandemic period as well. So all these issues are now coming up during the north-south taxation divide, and this is one of the major issue going on here. But all this, of this can be traced to the center-state financial relations, the GST, and the compensation, and apart from that, the cesses and the surcharge, if you really want to understand the issue. Now everything, so what exactly is the solution? The solution is the 16th Finance Commission. The 16th Finance Commission has to take into regard all this and also bring out a criteria where better performing states who perform well while in contributing of taxes to the center pool also get a good amount, and apart from that, also looking after the states who are backward and cannot and who are lagging behind, and ensuring that that states come to a level that they also start contributing to the center's kitty of the finance, rather than totally depending upon the good performing states. It's like a demotivating factor. You perform well, but you do not get a result by a higher share revenue. Instead, you perform well, you contribute more, and all that money goes to the backward states or the low performing states. So this is all about the issue about the north-south divide and the south taxation movement. So I hope this brief idea was really helpful to you all. If you did, please do like, share, subscribe, and do not forget to comment at the end of the video. And with this note, I shall see you in my next post. Until then, it's very happy learning.